It is 10:47 p.m. and you have checked the lock twice. Your phone vibrates on the bedside table, but you turn it face down, unable to bear another notification. The room is quiet, yet your body has not received the message. Chosen one, perhaps you know this hour. The small apartment light, the unfinished glass of water, the thought you keep refusing to name. You tell yourself you are only being careful, but your shoulders are raised, your breathing is shallow, and your mind keeps walking around the same locked door. What if protection is already around you, even while fear is still knocking? Not every danger announces itself. Not every shield makes a sound. Sometimes, the hardest part is that nothing visible changes at first. The message is still unanswered. The decision is still pending, and the night still feels long. Yet, there may be more happening in this room than your eyes can measure. The fact that fear has entered your thoughts does not mean it owns the house. It does not mean God has stepped away. Stay here for a moment. Do not rush past the question, why can a person be guarded by God and still feel afraid? Before this night is over, that question may become the very place where peace begins. You have been tired in ways other people cannot see. You wake before the alarm because your mind has already started collecting reasons to worry. You answer ordinary questions too quickly, then replay the conversation after everyone has gone. Chosen one, you may be carrying a private watchman inside you, one who never puts down the lantern. It scans the doctor's portal, the bank balance, the silence in someone's voice, and the change in a familiar routine. I know how exhausting that can be. You've been trying to stay prepared, so you will not be surprised again. This is real. The tightness in your chest is real. The way your hand reaches for the phone before your feet touch the floor is real, and perhaps you have judged yourself for it. You may have wondered why faith has not made you calmer by now. But fear is not proof that you are faithless. It is often the place where a wounded part of you has learned to stay awake. God is not standing over that wound with disappointment. He sees the long nights that trained you to expect impact. He sees how you learned to smile while your thoughts kept running. Chosen one, you do not need to pretend that vigilance has not cost you something. Name it honestly. Then let God meet you there. Fear usually asks a loud question. What if this goes wrong? But beneath it is a quieter one. Will I still be held if it does? Chosen one. That is the question under the checked lock, the unanswered email, and the conversation you keep rehearsing. You want God to remove every threat from the road ahead. Who would not? Yet a shield is not always an empty road. A shield may be the presence that keeps your soul from being destroyed by what the road contains. That is not a small difference. It means the promise of God cannot be reduced to a life where nothing hurts, nothing changes, and no one disappoints you. Some storms still arrive, some doors still close, some answers take longer than you hoped. But the deeper question is not whether hardship can come near. The deeper question is where the hardship gets the final word over who you are. Chosen one, it does not. Your circumstances may press against you without defining you. Your fear may speak without becoming your master. There is a protection that reaches further than comfort, but we must be patient enough to see it. Do not force an answer too soon, because the answer is coming from a place deeper than the surface of this night. C.S. Lewis was not a man who treated human pain as a shallow problem. He was an Oxford scholar, a wartime voice, and a Christian writer who had known grief closely enough to write about it without pretending it was simple. That is why his words matter to a person lying awake tonight. Chosen one, fear often tries to make you feel small, disposable, and forgotten. It tells you that one frightening possibility can reduce your whole life to a single vulnerable moment. Lewis resisted that lie. In The Weight of Glory, he wrote, "There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Let that settle for a moment. You are not an ordinary interruption in God's day. You are not a number in a crowd or a problem heaven has overlooked. You bear a life of lasting weight because God made you and knows you. Chosen one. The fear you feel may be urgent, but it is not the deepest truth about you. Your value was not created by a calm season, so it cannot be erased by an anxious one. The night can make everything look smaller." Lewis reminds us that God does not see you that way. He sees a soul worth guarding, restoring, and leading home. For the next few seconds, do not solve the whole future. Let your feet rest on the floor. Feel the solid surface beneath them, and take one slow breath without demanding that it fix everything. Chosen one, this is not a formula that guarantees safety. It is a small refusal to let panic become the only voice in the room. Notice one thing that is still here: the air entering your lungs, the wall beside you, the quiet fact that you have made it through every previous night God carried you through. You may still feel unsettled. That is all right. Peace does not always arrive as a dramatic feeling. Sometimes it begins as a decision to remain present instead of fleeing into tomorrow's disasters. Stay in the room. Stay with God in this exact moment. You do not have to predict every outcome to receive the strength for this breath. And you do not have to call fear wisdom simply because it sounds convincing. Chosen one, let the locked door be locked. Let the phone be face down. Let your mind learn, little by little, that it is allowed to rest in a presence greater than its alarms. There is more to see, but first, breathe and remain. At 10:58 p.m., place one hand on the table and feel its steady surface beneath you. Name 3 things that are true without interpretation. The room is quiet, your feet are supported, and this decision can wait until morning. The pause is not empty. It is where a frightened mind learns that not every alarm deserves an immediate answer. When the old alarm rises again, do not argue with it for 20 minutes. Point to the facts you named and repeat them slowly. The locked door is one object, not a prophecy. The silent phone is one moment, not a verdict. Morning remains available. Counsel remains available, and God has not become absent because certainty has not arrived. Psalm 91 does not begin with a person running through the night, trying to outrun every possible danger. It begins with someone dwelling, someone remaining, someone choosing to make a home beneath the care of God. The psalmist says that the one who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Then he speaks directly. He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Chosen one, notice what this refuge means. The circumstances have not yet been tied into a neat conclusion. The psalm does not say that faith makes every threat imaginary. It gives the frightened soul somewhere to stand while the world is still unfinished. A refuge is not denial. It is a place of nearness, strong enough to hold the truth without being ruled by terror. When rain strikes a roof, the sound can still be loud inside the house. You hear every drop, and sometimes the wind shakes the windows. But the noise of the storm is not proof that the roof has vanished. Chosen one, God's nearness can remain over you even when uncertainty is making noise. You may not know what the next message will say. You may not know how the meeting will end. But in this present hour, you can say what the psalmist said. You are my refuge. Not because the road is easy, because I am not walking it alone. There are things in front of you that should not be minimized. The unanswered message exists. The diagnosis may require real treatment. The tension in your family may need a truthful conversation. And the financial number on the screen may demand a wise decision. Chosen one, faith does not require you to rename danger as comfort. It does not ask you to close your eyes and call that trust. What you see may be real, but it may not be the whole field. Fear takes one visible fact and stretches it across the entire horizon. One delay becomes abandonment. One difficult result becomes a ruined future. One person's silence becomes a verdict on your worth. This is how the eye can become a prison when it is asked to see more than it can actually see. Your eyes can report what is present, but they cannot always report what God is doing beyond it. Chosen one, honor the facts without giving them divine authority. Call the doctor. Read the document carefully. Ask the difficult question. Seek help if you're in danger, but do not let a single visible circumstance appoint itself as the narrator of your entire life. There are mercies you cannot yet trace, people God may already be moving, and forms of strength being built in you before you feel them. The visible matter deserves attention, but it does not deserve worship. You can face what is in front of you without surrendering everything beyond it. In 2 Kings chapter 6, a servant wakes early and steps outside. What he sees is enough to make anyone panic. An enemy army has surrounded the city with horses and chariots, and there is no obvious path of escape. He runs to the prophet Elisha and cries, "Oh no, my Lord, what shall we do?" The servant is not inventing the army. The danger is visible, immediate, and real. Elisha does not shame him for seeing it. He simply refuses to agree that what the servant sees is everything that exists. "Do not be afraid," Elisha says, "for those who are with us are more than those who are with them." Then Elisha prays, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." And the servant looks again. The hills are full of horses and chariots of fire surrounding Elisha. Chosen one, the army did not disappear before the servant's perspective changed. God widened the field. That is the mercy inside this story. The servant was allowed to see that visible pressure had never been the only presence around him. Perhaps you have been counting only what stands against you: the deadline, the symptoms, the opposition, the silence. But you cannot count what you cannot yet see. Chosen one, ask God for opened eyes, not to escape reality, but to see reality more fully. The threat may occupy one part of the field. It does not occupy all of it. God was present before the servant saw the fire, and he is not waiting for your fear to vanish before he comes near to you. Imagine the phone lighting up again. A name appears on the screen, followed by a message that makes your stomach tighten before you have read it twice. Your thumb moves toward the keyboard. Fear already has an answer prepared. Defend yourself now. Explain everything now. Make the decision now, before the other person gains control. Chosen one, this is where an unseen shield may look surprisingly ordinary. It may look like 10 quiet minutes. You place the phone on the table, walk to the sink, and let cold water run over your hands while your breathing slows. The message remains. The problem has not disappeared, but a small space has opened between what happened and what you will choose. In that space, fear is no longer allowed to write the reply by itself. Silence is not always avoidance. Sometimes silence is protection, while wisdom catches up with emotion. It gives you time to pray, to read the words again without adding a tone that may not be there, and to ask whether your first response reflects truth or only alarm. Chosen one, there will be moments when immediate action is necessary, especially where safety is at risk. But not every vibration is an emergency. Not every demand deserves instant access to your nervous system. Let 10 minutes become a boundary, not a punishment, not a game, but a place where God can steady you. Restraint can be active. Waiting can be wise. The shield may be working through the pause that keeps one fearful moment from becoming a harmful decision. Chosen one, Say this quietly: what I see is real, but it is not the whole field. What I feel deserves compassion, but it does not get to become my verdict. God is present beyond the edge of my sight, so I will face the next true thing without surrendering to the future fear has invented. Let that declaration travel with you into the next message, the next appointment, and the next moment when your mind tries to turn one fact into an entire ending, because courage does not deny the visible, it refuses to crown it. Now we must look closely at the stories fear writes ahead of time and learn how to separate a prediction from the truth. Before you name the future, name the fact in front of you. Is there a message you have not received? Or only a silence your nervous system has filled with the story? Is there a diagnosis? Or only a symptom that still needs wise attention? Is there a closed door? Or only a door that has not opened yet? These distinctions are not spiritual technicalities. They are acts of honesty. Fear loves blurred categories because a blurred category can carry an unlimited conclusion. But truth gives each thing its proper size. Write down what is known, what is unknown, and what the next faithful question would be. Then place the unknown where it belongs, not in the throne of your imagination, but in the hands of the God who sees the whole field. You may still feel the tremor. You may still need help. Courage is not the absence of that tremor. It is the refusal to let the tremor make decisions alone. A missed call can become an entire disaster before you have even left the kitchen. The phone rings once. You do not answer in time. Then fear begins writing. Something happened. They are angry. The news is terrible. There will be no way to repair this. By the time the kettle clicks off, your body is responding to a future that has not arrived. Chosen one, this is one of fear's oldest habits. It does not merely report a possibility. It takes a small blank space and fills it with the most painful story it can imagine. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A strange expression becomes betrayal. A difficult meeting becomes the beginning of the end. The mind moves quickly because it believes prediction will protect you from surprise. But rehearsing tragedy is not the same as preparing wisely. It can leave you wounded by scenes that never happened. Notice how fear speaks in complete endings. This always happens. They will never understand. I will not be able to survive this. Yet those statements are not prophecy. They are pain trying to become certain. Chosen one, you are allowed to make a plan, ask a question, and take practical action. But you do not have to hand your imagination over to every alarm. Before you believe the story, pause. Ask where the facts end and where fear began adding its own pages. The future is not sitting in your kitchen as the finished verdict. It is still in God's hands. The feeling is real. Let us begin there. If your chest tightens, if your hands shake, if your thoughts race toward loss, you do not need to mock yourself or pretend that calm has already arrived. Chosen one, feelings are signals. They can tell you that something matters, that a wound has been touched, or that you need support. But a signal is not always a final conclusion. Consider two distinct questions in your mind. First, what do I actually know in this present hour? Perhaps you know a call was missed. Perhaps you know a bill is due. Perhaps you know a conversation was painful. Then ask the second question, what am I afraid this means? Maybe the fear whispers that you will be abandoned, fail completely, or lose everything you love. Do you see the difference? One thought contains what is established. The other contains what fear predicts. Both need compassion, but they do not carry the same authority. Chosen one, wisdom does not demand that you ignore what is real. It helps you respond honestly. Faith does not demand that you erase what you feel. It refuses to call a prediction a fact before the evidence exists. This is how a guarded mind begins to breathe. You stop arguing with your feelings, and you stop obeying them as if they were judges. You bring them into the light. Then you choose the next true step. C.S. Lewis understood that a person's inner weather can change faster than the truths they have already learned. He was an Oxford scholar, a careful thinker, and a Christian who knew faith was not proven only by the days when belief felt effortless. That distinction matters when you wake up afraid after a day when you felt strong. Chosen one, a changing mood can make yesterday's certainty seem far away. It can make prayer feel thin and every promise sound distant. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity, "Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted in spite of your changing moods." Listen to that carefully. Faith is not forcing yourself to feel something you do not feel. It is not denying the heaviness in your body or pretending that questions do not exist. It is holding on to what has already been shown to be true while the weather inside you shifts. You have known moments of God's faithfulness. You have seen doors open, strength arrive, counsel come at the right time, and mercy meet you after you thought you had none left. Chosen one, do not discard that history simply because fear is speaking loudly tonight. Let the mood be a mood. Let it pass through without making it your master. You can say, "I feel afraid, and I still remember who God has been." That is not weak faith. That is faith with roots. Isaiah gives us a promise that is both simple and deep. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. This does not mean a faithful mind never wanders. It means the mind can be returned again and again. Chosen one, think of carrying a cup filled too close to the rim. The tighter you grip it while rushing, the more likely it is to spill across your hands. But when you slow down and set the cup on a steady table, the trembling water begins to settle. Returning your mind to God can be like that. Not one dramatic act of control, but a repeated placing down. You notice the anxious thought, you name it. Then you place your attention back on the Lord, who is here with you now. God, you are with me in this room. God, show me the next true thing. God, help me not to borrow tomorrow's weight. Chosen one, your mind may need to return 100 times today. That does not mean you have failed 99 times. It means you are practicing where to rest. Every return is a small act of trust. Every honest prayer is a way of setting the cup down before fear spills into every corner of your life. If peace feels unfamiliar, let it arrive in a small form. Loosen your jaw, lower your shoulders, and read the next line only once. You are practicing a different kind of attention, one that can notice danger without worshipping it. Chosen one, if these words are sincere for you today, write this in the comments. I will return to what is true. Let it be more than a phrase. Let it mark a quiet decision that fear will not write your entire future without being questioned. And if you need a steady voice for the next difficult hour, subscribe and return when you need encouragement rooted in truth, prayer, and God's presence. You do not have to walk through every unsettled moment alone. The next choice may be as small as an unsent message, but it may reveal more strength in you than you realize. Before you move on, notice the sentence you are choosing to replace. Perhaps it says, I have already missed my chance. Perhaps it says, because they are quiet, I am rejected. Perhaps it says, because I am tired, I am failing. Bring that sentence into the light without punishing yourself for having believed it. Ask, what would I say to someone I love if they spoke these words about themselves? Then offer yourself the same truthful mercy. The truest sentence may be modest. I can wait for evidence. I can ask for help. I can take one honest step without solving the entire future tonight. That is not weakness disguised as patience. It is a disciplined return to reality. Let your comment be a witness, not a performance. Let your next action agree with it, even if the action is simply putting the phone down, drinking water, or going to sleep. A changed life often begins with a sentence small enough to practice. The reply is already written. 3 paragraphs sit inside the bright message box, and your thumb is hovering over send. Your pulse is racing because every sentence was composed inside the need to be understood immediately. Chosen one, perhaps the words are not false. Perhaps the hurt is real. The boundary is necessary, and the question deserves an answer. But what might be protected if your thumb does not move yet? Not every truthful word is ready to be spoken the moment it is felt. Sometimes, the truth needs time to be separated from the sharp edges fear adds to it. You read the draft again. One sentence explains, another accuses. A third tries to control what the other person will think before they have even responded. The room feels smaller with every rereading. Fear whispers that hesitation means weakness, that silence means losing, that the first person to answer controls the story. But chosen one, urgency can imitate wisdom. It can sound decisive, while quietly asking you to trade integrity for relief. The message may still need to be sent. The conversation may still need to happen. Yet there is sacred strength in refusing to let a racing pulse choose the final wording. Leave the draft where it is for a moment, because the unseen shield around your life may be protecting not only what reaches you, but also what leaves you. You learn to answer quickly for a reason. Perhaps silence once cost you an opportunity. Perhaps someone misunderstood you and never gave you the chance to explain. Perhaps you watched a relationship change while you were still searching for the right words. Chosen one, immediate response can feel like the only way to prevent rejection, correction, or loss. If you answer now, maybe they will not leave. If you explain every detail, maybe they will not blame you. If you make the decision before they do, maybe you will not feel powerless again. I know that instinct. It is trying to keep you from reliving an old wound. This is real. The pressure behind the fast reply is real. It may come from years of having to prove your intentions, manage another person's reactions, or stay one step ahead of disappointment. That is exhausting. It is the same private watchfulness that wakes before the alarm and checks the phone before dawn. Chosen one, God does not shame the part of you that learned to survive this way. He sees why speed began to feel like safety, but He also sees the toll, the hurried words you later wished you could soften, the decisions made before counsel arrived, and the nights spent repairing what panic had rushed. You are not being asked to become passive. You are being invited to discover that you can be honest without being hurried. The pause is not abandonment. It may be the first place your soul learns that it no longer has to outrun rejection. Pray this with me before you touch the screen again. Lord, you see the message, and you see what it has stirred inside me. Keep my mind stayed on you. Slow the fear that wants to decide before wisdom can speak. Show me what is true, what is mine to say, and what should be left unsent. Protect the other person from my panic, and protect my integrity from my need for immediate relief. Give me courage to act when action is right, and patience to wait when waiting is wise. I place these next words beneath your care. Amen. Now breathe. Let 10 quiet seconds pass without rehearsing the argument. Feel the chair beneath you. Unclench your hand. Chosen one, this silence is not empty. You have created room to listen instead of merely react. Isaiah speaks of the mind kept in peace because it returns to trust. This is that return made practical, not a performance, not a denial of the problem, a holy pause where your attention comes back to God before your action goes out into the world. If the situation involves immediate danger, seek help and act. But where you have room to wait, let wisdom use it. The notification can remain unanswered for a few minutes. Your worth is not being decided by the typing indicator. God is still present while the screen is still. The phone remains on the table while you check what is actually true. You reread the original message, not the version fear repeated in your mind. You notice a detail you missed the first time. Then you call someone wise, not someone who will simply confirm your anger, but someone who cares about both truth and your character. Chosen one counsel does not make the decision for you. It helps clear the fog around it. Later, you return to the draft. You keep the honest boundary. You remove the sentence meant to wound. You ask one clear question instead of making 3 accusations. Then, when your breathing is steady enough to accept that you cannot control the response, you press send. The problem has not magically disappeared, but you have changed the way you stand inside it. This is the answer to those exhausted mornings when you believed constant readiness was the only protection available. You do not have to scan every signal and rehearse every outcome to remain safe in God's care. And this is the meaning of those 10 minutes when the phone first lit up. The delay was not defeat. It protected your integrity until fear no longer held the pen. Chosen one, restraint made room for prayer. Prayer made room for counsel. Counsel made room for truthful action. The shield did not make you silent forever. It kept panic from speaking in your name. That is discernment. That is agency. That is a soul learning to answer from who it is rather than from what it fears. Chosen one, you are allowed to be unhurried. You may pause faithfully, ask for wise counsel, check what is true, and act when clarity arrives. This is not passivity. It is courage, refusing to let fear choose your timing. Your next response can be honest without being impulsive, firm without being cruel, and timely without being driven. God is present in the pause, and you are still free to do the next right thing. Notice what happens when you do not rush to prove that you are safe. The body may protest. The mind may produce one more reason to check, explain, apologize, or send the message now. Meet that protest with a question. What would become possible if I allowed 10 more minutes for wisdom to arrive? You are not abandoning responsibility. You are giving responsibility a clearer mind. Unhurried does not mean passive. It means your fear no longer sets the clock. Before you reply, draft the message on paper and leave it there for 1 full minute. Read it aloud with the name of someone you respect in mind. Does it protect what is true, or does it try to purchase relief? If it needs revision, that is not failure. It is evidence that you've become available to wisdom. Your future self may be grateful for the sentence you chose not to send while your heart was racing. Return with me to that room at 10:47 p.m. The lock is still on the door. The glass of water is still unfinished. The phone may still hold a message you do not want to read. From the outside, perhaps very little has changed. And yet the question has changed. Chosen one, was the shield ever meant to be a wall that kept every hard thing from entering your life? Or was it meant to keep fear from taking your name when hard things came near? This distinction matters. A wall says, nothing painful will ever touch you. But life has already taught you that promise would not be honest. Loss can come, illness can come, disappointment can come, people can fail you, and plans can break open without warning. God does not ask you to call those things good. He meets you inside them with a protection deeper than denial. The shield can preserve the part of you that fear wants to steal. Your conscience, your capacity to love, your ability to discern, your willingness to tell the truth, and your remembrance that you belong to God. Chosen one, you may feel afraid and still remain His. You may face a real problem and still refuse to become its captive. That was the question beneath the locked door. Can I be guarded and still be afraid? Yes, because fear can knock at the house without receiving the deed to it. God's protection is not always the removal of pressure. Often, it is the preservation of who you are under pressure. Think of a house under careful renovation. One room is closed, furniture is covered, dust has settled where everything once looked familiar, and the sound of work comes from behind a door you cannot open yet. If you only judge the house by that one room, you might think it was being ruined, but something else may be happening. Weak places are being repaired, old wiring is being replaced, and a structure is being prepared to bear more life than before. Chosen one, this is only a picture, not an explanation for every hardship. We must be careful here. Not every wound was desired by God. Not every loss is a lesson sent from heaven. Grief is grief, and evil is evil. But even where life has been disrupted by what God does not delight in, He is not absent from the work of restoration. He can meet you in the dust. He can rebuild what fear said was permanently broken. The closed room may be painful because you cannot see what is happening inside it. Yet your inability to see does not mean there is no faithful work underway. When you choose a measured reply instead of a cruel one, when you ask for help instead of hiding, when you let a boundary stand instead of abandoning yourself, something is being strengthened. Chosen one, these are not small repairs. They are signs that your inner house is being made more truthful, more steady, and more able to receive the presence of God. C.S. Lewis knew that transformation can feel confusing when it interrupts the version of life we had hoped to manage. He was an Oxford scholar who wrote not only about belief, but about the patient work of God remaking a person from the inside. In Mere Christianity, Lewis gives us an image that is both unsettling and full of hope. He writes, "You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but He is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it Himself." Chosen one, a cottage renovation would be simple. A few repairs, a fresh coat of paint, enough improvement to make the old structure comfortable again. But a palace requires deeper work. Walls may be opened, rooms may be added. The noise may feel disruptive because the purpose is larger than a quick repair. This does not make your pain decorative. It does not tell you to celebrate every loss or pretend every hardship is easy. It tells you that God is not limited to preserving the smallest version of you. He is forming a life spacious enough for courage, truth, mercy, and His own presence. Every practiced boundary, every honest pause, every moment you refuse to let panic write in your name can become part of that formation. Chosen one, you are not merely trying to survive this moment. By grace, you are being shaped into someone who can remain open to God even when life is not easily explained. Now, the answer can be spoken plainly. The unseen shield around your life is not a promise that nothing painful will approach you. It is God's preserving work over what pain and fear tried to take from you. It guards your identity when anxiety says you are only a problem waiting to happen. It guards your conscience when anger urges you to wound before you are wounded. It guards discernment when urgency tries to make every choice for you. It guards your capacity to love truthfully when disappointment tempts you to become hard. Chosen one, remember what Lewis said. There are no ordinary people. You are not a mere mortal passing unnoticed through God's world. Your life has weight, and your soul is worth protecting. This is why the shield can remain real, even while you feel afraid. Fear is an experience, not your identity. The locked door, the unanswered message, and the pending decision can all be present without becoming the authority that names you. The deeper protection is that you are kept from being reduced to the worst thing happening around you. You belong to God before the outcome is known. You can act wisely without surrendering your heart to panic. And even in the night, there is a guarded place inside you where fear does not get the final word. Look back gently, chosen one. There may have been more strength in you than you noticed at the time. Perhaps there was a moment when you did not send the cruel reply, even though every part of you wanted release. Perhaps you did not return to an old pattern, even though it promised immediate comfort. Perhaps you finally called someone and said, "I need help," when you would once have carried the whole burden alone. These may have looked like small decisions, but they were not empty. They were evidence that fear did not own every part of you. They were signs of a preserved conscience, a living hope, and a heart that could still turn toward truth. Chosen one, do not use this memory to accuse yourself for the moments you struggled. Let it become humble hope. The same God who met you in those hidden choices can meet you again in the next one. You do not need certainty about every outcome to recognize His faithful work in you. Hold that thought as we come to rest. The phone may still light up, but you are not the same person who first reached for it in fear. The strength may be visible only in the fact that you are still here, still willing to choose truth, chosen one. Even after you have made a wise decision, your body may not immediately believe the danger has passed. You place the phone down, then feel the urge to lift it again. You turn off the light, then wonder whether you should check the lock once more. Your shoulders remain raised as though they are waiting for another demand. Do not shame yourself for this. A nervous system trained by long uncertainty may experience peace as unfamiliar territory. Rest can feel irresponsible when vigilance once helped you endure. Silence can feel suspicious when bad news used to arrive without warning. This does not mean your prayer failed. It does not mean you lack faith. It means that rest may need to become a practice return. You notice the impulse. Breathe without forcing yourself to feel different, and say, "I have done what wisdom requires for this hour." Then you return your attention to the room. Perhaps the lamp casts a quiet circle over the table. Perhaps rain moves against the window. Perhaps nothing dramatic happens at all. That ordinary stillness is enough. Peace is not a performance in which you prove that fear has vanished. It is the repeated choice to come back under God's care whenever fear tries to pull you into tomorrow. If you check again tonight, do not condemn yourself. Simply begin again. The shield is not broken because you tremble. God's presence has not withdrawn because your breathing took time to settle. Every gentle return is a small act of trust, and trust can grow quietly before it ever feels strong. Now return once more to 10:47 p.m. The same phone rests on the same table. Its screen goes dark, and you place it face down. At the beginning, that gesture came from dread. You wanted to hide from whatever might appear, yet you could not stop imagining it. Now the gesture carries another meaning. The phone is face down because you have chosen a boundary. You have checked what needed checking. You have answered what required an honest answer. What remains can wait until morning unless a genuine emergency calls for action. The device has not changed, but your relationship to the moment has. Your hand is no longer obeying every vibration as though it were a command. Chosen one, this is how a small signal can reveal a larger work. A face-down phone may look insignificant to everyone else. Heaven does not measure faithfulness by spectacle. Sometimes, courage is a quiet hand withdrawing from the table. Sometimes, discernment is allowing a message to remain unread for one more hour. because exhaustion is not a trustworthy counselor. Sometimes the unseen shield appears as the freedom to say, "This concern is real, but it will not govern this room." You are not avoiding truth. You are refusing to let urgency impersonate truth. The locked door is no longer the center of the story. The boundary is, you have not trapped yourself inside fear. You have made room to rest under God's care. Leave the phone there for a moment. Feel your feet against the floor. Let the dark screen become a simple sign. You may be reachable without being ruled, responsible without being constantly alarmed, and watchful without surrendering your peace. Philippians 4 does not tell us that visible concerns are imaginary. It tells us where to carry them. Paul writes that in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, we may present our requests to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses understanding, will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Notice the word guard. The concern may still stand outside the door. The diagnosis may still require another appointment. The conversation may still need courage tomorrow. Yet peace can take its place at the inner gate. Chosen one, prayer is not pretending that the field is empty. It is remembering that the visible threat is not the whole field. Name the concern honestly before God. This is what I fear. This is what I know. This is what I cannot control. Then, name one gift that remains. The person who answered your call, the wisdom to wait, the breath in your lungs, the mercy that carried you through today. Gratitude does not erase danger. It widens your sight, so danger is no longer the only thing you can see. And then ask for the next faithful action, not the entire map. Perhaps the action is sleep. Perhaps it is calling a doctor in the morning. Perhaps it is apologizing, seeking counsel, or leaving a harmful place. God's peace does not make you passive. It steadies you so that action can come from truth rather than panic. This is the guard of peace. Not a numb heart, but a heart kept from being conquered by what it must face. Not an empty mind, but a mind returned to Christ when fearful predictions begin marching through it again. Let us pray together. God of mercy, you see the concern that has followed this listener into the night. You know the unanswered question, the tired body, the message on the table, and the decision that still feels unfinished. We do not ask you to make us careless. We ask you to make us clear. Guard this heart from bitterness. Guard this mind from stories that have not happened. And guard this conscience from choices made only to escape discomfort. Give wisdom for what must be done, patience for what cannot yet be resolved, and courage to seek honest counsel where help is needed. If there is a truthful conversation to have, prepare the words. If there is a boundary to keep, strengthen the hand that keeps it. If there is danger requiring action, bring trustworthy people and practical guidance near. If this is a night for rest, teach this body that it is permitted to be still. Lord, receive what cannot be carried any farther tonight. We place the known and the unknown before you. Thank you for every quiet mercy already present, including the strength to pause, the humility to ask for help, and the grace to begin again after fear returns. Let your peace stand watch where human control reaches its limit. Keep this listener tender without making them defenseless, discerning without making them suspicious, and courageous without making them hard. Even while answers unfold, let them know they are not abandoned. Be near in the silence, faithful in the waiting, and wise in the morning. In Christ, keep their heart and mind. Amen. Chosen one, the night does not have to answer every question before you are allowed to rest. Remember the strength you almost overlooked, the reply you refused to send in anger, the old pattern you did not return to, the moment you asked for help instead of hiding. Those choices were not proof that you could control the future. They were evidence that fear had not taken your name. Carry that evidence gently into tomorrow. The field is still wider than what you can see. God may work through prayer, wise counsel, medical care, a truthful boundary, an unexpected kindness, or the simple clarity that comes after sleep. You do not need to predict the form of His care in order to trust His presence. The unseen shield is not a promise of a painless road. It is the preserving grace that keeps calling you back to truth, keeps your conscience alive, and keeps love from being extinguished under pressure. If this message brought calm to a place in you that has been standing guard for too long, share it with someone who may need the same quiet courage tonight. And subscribe if you want more reflections that help you meet uncertainty with faith, wisdom, and an unhurried heart. But before you move, let these final words settle. You are not alone in the room. You are not defined by the fear at the door. You are held by the faithful presence of God, and you may carry His peace into tomorrow.